What do you think is the appropriate age for men to stop having children?
55. You fill up a room. Aww. You've heard people say that about you, that, oh, I thought you were taller. Because you're so big, so larger than life.
He doesn't want to be in the doghouse tonight. Who apologizes first, be honest?
I do. You don't think? Yeah, I do.
So we have a 23-year age gap.
Which is really surprising.
Do you feel like I've given you the confidence or the push to go for bigger things?
Oh, yeah.
Do you have any advice for age gap relationships?
No.
Cheers. Hi guys, and welcome back to Only Moms. Today we have a very special guest. Bougie Dad, welcome to Only Moms.
Hi, honey.
How does it feel to have people come up to you and call you Bougie Dad?
Yeah, I'm getting used to it. For you, you know my immediate reaction. My immediate reaction is, no, that's not me. But the truth is, it comes out of for them, right? It comes out of they love you. They love to see you, and it's I'm here to support you for sure.
Thanks, honey. So those of you who do not know, Glenn is my husband. If you're new to the podcast, we've been married for how long now? 6, 7?
I would have said 7 years, but.
Okay, so together for 7?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I want you guys to know that we are so bad with anniversary dates. We always pick a random date in July. I think we finally have it down now.
But remember, it was because it was during COVID, right? So I think it's more common than you think that people have that issue. Particularly because we got married in another country, right? Mm-hmm. So we had to do a JOP here, right?
Right. Right.
So legally, right, there was a ceremony here in the U.S., but then the real ceremony, and it was out of the country. But then remember the other one that we did after COVID for our friends, right?
Oh, yes. We did multiple ceremonies.
Yeah.
I think we did one.
I think we're due for another one.
Really?
Yeah.
I have a wedding dress that I haven't worn.
I forgot. Yeah.
Yeah. That would be fun, honey. Okay, so I'm going to go over a few just questions to get us warmed up. We're going to pour some wine, one of my favorites. I'm concerned. This actually was open already.
It's okay.
We grabbed this from our stash at the house. Can you taste test this for me and tell me if it's bad? Okay, we have had so many parties at our house, and I'm going to be really disappointed if this wine has gone bad and it's a full bottle. No. Okay, so we would have been drinking the Mom Juice Red Blend, which you've had before. So why don't you tell everyone, we'd like a review on your wine. Typically, I would do a wine tasting. But what do you think of our Red Blend? We actually just had it last night.
Oh, I think it's terrific, actually. You have to keep in mind the price point that you guys are going for, which is right, but it's really, really drinkable. I drink it, as you know, more than I should, right? But the interesting thing is that, and it's a comment that you make all the time about the ingredients that you guys put in it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make you feel bad at all. The next day.
Yeah. No, I mean, and legally we can't say it won't give you a hangover. But I do think because of the clean ingredients, that's why I don't get heartburn. I don't get a hangover or a headache. So no.
And I didn't even know until I heard you talking about it one day. You must have been, talking to an investor or something, but I never even knew, I'm sure you hear it all the time, but now you're hearing it from me. I didn't know that, your comment about, what is it? Fish bladder, fish oil?
Fish bladder.
Fish bladder. Yeah. That's appalling. If people knew that about other wines, I think they would would really perk their ears up.
Yeah, it's interesting because when we tell people that we make vegetarian or vegan wine, they all start laughing and they're like,
Yeah, because they think,
all?
isn't it all, right?
Yeah.
Aren't grapes vegetables? Right?
Yeah. And then you're
They're
like,
actually
no.
fruits, aren't they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're fruit. But yeah, everyone, a lot of wine does include fish bladder. So that's something absolutely disgusting that you may be drinking. And there's no laws around ingredient transparency and what they have to put on the back of the bottle. So,
which is really surprising, actually.
mm-hmm. Yes. Okay, so let's dive into some quick questions. Do we want more kids?
No.
That was a slow no.
No. Well, we've been really, really lucky, right?
I agree.
And we say it all the time that we have, honestly, you know, the stories that you hear other people tell, and just sometimes it's tragic what other people are going through, and I just feel so blessed,
right?
With the 4 that we have, and every single one of them, right? Every single one of them is a blessing, and I just think that they're amazing. Well, I mean, Alexander was an easy baby. He was right. He was and he and I were inseparable. And then the twins, when they came, it was really hard. Parents out there, they know the difference from going from 1 to 3. It's, oh my God, it's so hard, but still just wonderful. And every single one of them, and I don't remember terrible twos. And Lyle, if what she's doing now is the terrible twos, if that's the extent of it, then that's right again, another blessing.
Don't jinx us.
Yeah, you're right. But then seeing the relationship between the older kids and Lyle is so sweet, isn't it?
It is.
And other parents, when I've talked to them, and I'll say, they'll say, "Oh yeah, we have a gap in ages with our kids as well." And my first question is always, is the oldest and the youngest, are they still close? And invariably, they're still close. And
really?
Yeah, it's really, really nice to hear.
Yeah, I'm not super worried. Our family is incredibly close, so I'm not really worried about the age gap. But what I am worried about is the transition for our youngest when all 3 of the older kids leave the house this year. Yeah. That's going to be tough for her.
Yep. Oh, and I don't know if you remember this. We were having a house party one year. It was like a Christmas party or something. And the kids came in. It was, everyone, all these adults are around. The kids come in, and normally teenagers sulk, or they'll just go hide somewhere. But remember, they came in and gave each of us a hug, and parents were just watching, going, "I've never seen my kids would never do that." It's just there. You're right. There's a lot of love.
Yes.
In the house.
Yeah, we have a lot of things actually that people will comment and say, "Oh, wow, my teenager would never." Right? It's really interesting, and I think we're going to dive into parenting in a bit. But I did want to ask that question because I get that all the time. Do we want more kids? The other thing that I always get is, how long did it take us to get engaged? Do you know the answer to that? Because I do.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, it was.
You researched for this?
No, I didn't research for it. It was a year.
Really? Mm-hmm. That's a proper amount of time.
Yeah. We didn't actually get engaged on the year, but I think it was right around a year is when we went and started looking at rings. And then you proposed to me February, Valentine's Day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Which you honestly shouldn't do, but it was...
Why? Who cares? Mind you guys, before we dive too deep in, I need to announce, because I feel so out of place, that I don't have my cue cards. I have my phone because both of us are here, and I'm concerned in case one of our kids calls that one of us have to know what's going on. Plus, I have all my notes, so it made more sense for me to be holding my phone. Okay, so with that said, we got engaged after a year. I feel like we moved relatively quickly as far as our relationship goes. What do you feel like we did?
I think that's something that comes from maturity on both sides, both our ends. When you know, then you know. And there's not a matter of, neither of us were interested in playing any games whatsoever.
Right.
I do think, if you remember, you still had an apartment for quite a long time. that
Yes.
you never set foot in,
Right.
right? Because once we decided to be together, we were together every day from that moment on.
Yeah. We didn't do any of the awkward, like, should I text them back
Oh yeah,
phase.
Yep.
We pretty much were obsessed with each other
Yeah.
immediately.
Yep.
I think after our first date, I messaged you from the parking lot and I said, I had a great time. What are you doing tomorrow?
Have you told people that story?
We've posted about it. I don't think we have enough time for that particular story
Okay.
on this podcast
Okay.
because I know you like to make it long-winded.
I do.
Yes.
It's a great story.
You love that story.
Yeah.
You will find that story on TikTok. We will tell it again. But I do want to dive in to the power of marrying the right person. So, right, like what we just said is if you know, I really don't feel like you should waste time. I feel like, of course, everyone don't be blinded by the honeymoon stage. But I think if you know, solidifying things faster, I work better as a partner.
Yeah.
I'm more successful. I'm more focused. I am better as a partner. How do you feel about that?
There were a lot of questions in there. How do I feel as first when you know, or how do I feel as a partner, or that you make
Just
me
marrying
as a
the
partner?
right person.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
What has it done? Can you give some examples of what marrying the right person has done for you? The difference in your actual life, right?
Yeah. So for me individually, and this would be my advice to any male, love somebody, or actually anybody, any one of our kids even, love somebody who makes you better, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So you've heard, it sounds cliche, but it's true, that you make me want to be a better person, a better man, and you do. You honestly do. But then the selfish part of it is that, and I think you feel the same way, I know people who say, well, I don't think my spouse, that he or she wouldn't be good in that environment, or I wouldn't want to bring him or her into that environment.
Well, I mean, you guys, there are partners that I've met 5 years ago and still have never met their wives.
Yeah, and I never want to feel that way. I know that I can bring you into, quite honestly, any environment, and you'll make me proud. You can come into any environment. You could be as demure as you need to be. You could be as gregarious as you need to be, and you fill up a room when you come in. You've heard people say that about you. That, oh, I thought you were taller,
Yeah.
but because you're so big, so larger than life. And you do. And I know that I could actually let you loose. And I know that sounds weird, but you don't want to be right on top of each other at any party or any social gathering.
You also don't want to be worried when you go to the bathroom that your partner is going to screw something up.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you could be alone in any environment and you would represent me incredibly well.
I really like to, when people ask, what are one of the things that you love about your marriage, and loving someone that you can be proud of is so incredibly important for, a million reasons, right? Like if you're already proud of someone, it means you ultimately respect them as well and the things that they're doing.
What's the alternative? How can you love somebody that you are not proud of, frankly? Or, okay, I take that back. It would certainly put a lot of strain.
Have you never been in a relationship that you're like not proud of your partner all the time?
I've never been in another relationship, so Yes.
He doesn't want to be in the doghouse tonight.
But anyway, I can't
Great answer,
imagine
honey.
what that would be like.
Right.
It would be awful.
Yeah. No, I agree. One of the other things that both of us were searching for when we found each other is exactly what you said. I don't want to babysit you if I have to take you somewhere, and I don't want to separate the two.
Right.
Right? We've both built really incredible, fascinating careers, and it's lonely if you have to separate it. And oftentimes you find yourself like, man, I really want my kids or I really want my spouse to see the things that I'm doing. Mm-hmm. I think that you say that often.
Yeah, and the surprising, it's not surprising at all if you know our kids, but the really lucky thing is that we could take our kids to any of our events and we know that they'll represent too.
Yes.
It's just incredible.
What's crazy is we could even take the baby.
Yeah, I know.
Which is wild.
Yep.
And I do, like, I don't know if that's, do you think that is because of who they are or because we are parenting them and like forming them into our lifestyle?
It's a little of both. You've heard me say this, that kids are who they were going to be at a very, very early age, right? Parents like to take credit or they like to take the blame for the way that their kids end up, but kids are who they are going to be at the age of 2. You'll see it in Lyle's personality, I guarantee it. But the examples that you and I give them on how to talk to people, how to be interested in a conversation, how to and how to
Shake
really
hands.
portray yourself and look somebody in the eye. That's those are tools for sure that they get from us. But I know they are destined to be great, and it was inside them all the time. Mm-hmm. I firmly believe that.
Yeah. No, I absolutely do. Now seeing our baby and her personality has been the same since she got here. I mean, do you remember she was not amused by us? She didn't laugh for what?
She'd go, heh.
Yeah, she didn't laugh for 6 to 8 months.
Yeah, at us. She laughed at the dogs and she laughed at Alexander, remember?
Yes,
kids,
she laughed at the boys. She did not think we were funny at all. She never laughed. We would be tickling her, blowing on her. Nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to go back really quickly too, because I feel like a lot of people in my network are often asking like about healthy relationships and removing themselves from healthy relationships and then, becoming more successful. And when you combine the two, again, marriage and success and being with the right person, do you have any examples of how being with the right person may have influenced or helped your career?
Well, you sprung that one on me.
Okay.
No. I mean, there are plenty of people that we've met in business settings who like you more than they like me, and I say that jokingly, right? They like me, respect me, but you really you draw people in. You certainly do, and I think that that's a benefit. I won't name names or anything, but there was one woman we went to dinner with, and she never gives anybody her phone number. And then the email after this event, she sent an email saying what a nice time she had. I loved meeting your wife, and gave her personal phone number as well. And to me, that's the level of success in a in a business relationship that you really strive for, frankly. If somebody is willing to text you or talk to you on the right or give you the phone number, it's better than just an email. Right.
Do you feel like there were times when I've given you the confidence or the push to go for bigger things?
Oh yeah. You do that all the time. You're relentless, actually. So. No, I'm kidding.
No, I'm pretty relentless.
Remember the point about wanting to be a better partner, being a better man. Yeah, you do that all the time. It's a real push.
Okay. This is something that's interesting to me, and everyone is so curious about our age gap relationship.
Oh,
so we have a 23-year age gap,
which is really surprising.
Yes, I actually, of course, when we first started dating, you have to get over is like, okay, age gap, But then you get over it, and I never remember that we're in this relationship until I started doing TikTok, and now I'm reminded every day. And I'm like, this is very interesting because to me, we're so much the same.
Mm-hmm. Welcome to season 2 of Only Moms. And I can't kick things off without giving a little treat to all of my favorites. So if you're new here, I founded a winery, co-founded actually with my business partner, Kristen Taylor, called Mom Juice. And we're all about keeping the bullshit out of wine. So not only do we slap our ingredients on the back of the label, but we are also gluten-free, vegetarian. Yeah, not all wine is vegetarian, okay? You might just be drinking fish bladder, and that's fucking gross. Regardless, we're giving you 20% off today. So all you have to do is go to momjuicewine.com and at the end of your order, put in Only Moms as your discount code and treat yourself, girl.
Do you have any advice for age gap relationships?
Any advice? It used to concern me, right? Only to the extent that, what's going to look like at, what's going to look like in 18, 20 years, right? But here's one concrete piece of advice then. Maybe you're concerned about that in 20 years, but you'll have 20 years of just pure joy, right? So live in the moment for sure. There is a difference. There's no difference in maturity level between the two of us, or drive, or ambition, or what you want out of life. And so make sure that you have that. And then the age is just a number, frankly. If you're well, it all depends. There are young 55-year-olds and there are old 55-year-olds for sure. So just that's one thing to keep in mind for sure. But sorry to drone on about this, but the truth is, I heard somebody say one time that the one thing that truly proves the existence of God is love. Right? Because people love each other, and you can't pinpoint why you love somebody.
Right.
People could say, I want category A, all these characteristics, but then they fall in love with somebody who had none of those characteristics. And you don't know why. And people fall in love with people who are bad for them. People fall in love with people who are good for them. You and I, fortunately, fell in love with somebody who was good for each other, right?
But I think it's worth mentioning we both didn't settle for a long time.
Yeah.
And that, to me, it was worth it to me to continue operating through life as a single, very focused individual than settling for something that I felt was wasting my time.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. People don't know how to be alone.
Yeah, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
A lot of people always ask about what the first reaction was from our parents.
My parents didn't think anything of it, I don't think. And as a matter of fact, I think the first time they met you, my mom was right? Didn't she start crying and tell you how good you were with the, she saw how good you were with the kids and with me, and just, I think, so my parents never thought anything of it.
I have to frame that for everyone. So I didn't meet Glenn's parents until we had been together for almost a year because I made it very clear that I didn't want to meet anyone for 6 months because you had children, and we had to be so sure.
Yeah.
I didn't want to start integrating things if we weren't sure. And so then by the time we hit that 6 months, COVID happened. And we were really stuck, and your parents, they're older. They had to isolate themselves. And so by the time I met your mom in person, I had already had an effect on the family. Yeah. And so she was really touched.
But, honey, you had an effect on the family. You had an effect on the kids. You guys were in love in a very, very short period of time.
Yeah.
Because, and I want you to know this, that kids, they can tell. Kids can always tell. And kids, they respect authenticity, and they know if somebody's feeding them a line.
You guys want to know a funny story about our kids? When we first met, I drove a white Mercedes. And do you remember I had snuck in through our back to the master bedroom a few times when they had been asleep? And they said when they left for school, they had seen the car parked like a little bit up the road, but still they're like, wow, we've never seen that car before.
Yeah.
And then
you were so clever by parking it. Yeah.
Then, of course, when they met me, they're like, oh, Macie drives a white Mercedes. But they never, it took them a long time to tell us that story. It was so funny. But they were little and they knew and they're like, They were on to us.
Yeah.
Really early on. So my mom actually had a great reaction to you. But I did lie about your age.
Oh, you did? Yeah. I remember.
Yeah.
Yep.
In my defense, you look so much younger
Thanks, honey.
than, you are. And so, especially when we met, right? Like I couldn't believe you were the age that you told me you were. And so I lied to my entire family.
But didn't they look? Yeah.
My sisters looked you up on LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's right.
And they started doing the math.
But they didn't care either.
No, they didn't care. And then I started just kind of throwing in like, you and Glenn are turning the same age this year. Something like that, like sarcastically. And then finally my mom was like, how old is your husband? But you were already my husband by the time she
Oh, is that right?
actually was cared to know your real age.
Oh.
Yeah. Because of the way, that she saw me light up with you, or the way that she knew I was safe with you, that she doesn't have to worry. And that's something that I give advice. Like everyone's so insecure about their relationship with the people that they love. And when they find out they're in a age gap relationship, that these people have a negative viewpoint of this. And it is because they want to make sure they're not being taken advantage of.
For sure. Yeah. And you're right. So raising your point about advice, our advice to anyone younger is make sure it's happening for the right reasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes that could be predatory.
Exactly. I do think there are some limitations on when you should, like, I don't think a 20-year-old should be dating
a
50-something, right? I do think you have to be in the same headspace. We both had been divorced before. We both were in the same rat race. Like, a lot of people online are making judgmental comments about.
Of course they will.
Exactly. But they're looking at it like they don't realize that I was 29 when we met. Like I had already lived a decent amount of life. And so when I'm giving this advice on the people that you love, I definitely think listen, allow them to have the space to give, of course, most of their unwarranted advice, but then show up every day in love. And if they truly are supposed to be in your life, they will accept your partner because how you guys are taking care of each other.
Yeah.
You agree?
Oh, yeah, completely.
Yeah. I didn't realize the world was so judgmental about age gap relationships.
Of course it is. Of course the world is.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, unlike you, I wouldn't, I don't lie about it, but I wouldn't publicize it, but
You don't think people can tell when they see us?
No, I think we fit.
Okay.
Don't you?
That's nice. No, I absolutely think we fit.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think are the most important factors in a marriage, and do we have them?
God, respect, for sure. Absolutely respect.
Yeah, I definitely think trust and respect.
Yeah. Trust comes with respect, but yeah, I agree with that. You have to make time for each other, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's something you taught me, because the tendency for I was going to say for a man, but it's the tendency for somebody who wants to provide, and that could be a man or a woman, is to work, and take care of the kids, take care of the house, clean up the house, or make sure everything is good. But you have to make time for each other. There's just that level of spending time and prioritizing each other.
Yeah.
The date nights, committed trips, they're so important because you can wake up and think, heck, it's been 6 months since I've seen my wife, right? Even though you see that person every day, it happens to people all the time.
Well, okay, last night, full disclosure, we stayed up until 2 a.m. talking for no reason. And I had taken a sleeping vitamin, and he just would not stop talking.
Hey, but
I was having a great time, so I was never going to stop you.
Yeah.
But it's that we hadn't done that in so long, and it felt good to just be friends in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I do think, but a controversial topic. One time I once said, put your marriage before your kids.
Yeah, why is that controversial?
A lot of people wanted an explanation on why that would be, or like, why would a mother ever put anything before her kids? But truly and deeply, I feel like if we are aligned and we focus on our marriage, like you said, the date nights and making sure that we have time together to connect and to be on the same page and talk about parenting styles, and like we're both pushing the same boulder up the hill together, we're a better example for our children.
Yeah, and the people who say that, they're intimating that you're going to abandon your kids in favor of your spouse, and that's not what you're saying at all. But what they need to see, what the kids need to see, is that that their parents are happy together, right? Because we want our kids to have that sort of a relationship and to find somebody to be happy with and to spend the rest of their lives with. So anyway, I know that our kids, they live in a happy home. The amount of stress that kids go under or are under when the parents hate each other, that's awful. Just awful.
Yeah.
And the parents always say, "Oh, we're staying together for the kids." It's just
like,
you're not
please
doing
don't.
the kids any. Yeah, exactly.
They know what's happening.
Yeah.
I think that, and I had told you this before we had gotten married or had children, but to me, one of the most important things to me as a parent, like when I became a mother, was to show them a true representation of love.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I did not grow up in a household where healthy relationships were the example. And that's not a dig on my mom. It just took me so long to sort that out on my own as an adult. And I don't want our kids, I feel like I'm just so much more efficient and clear-minded because I'm in this relationship or we're on the same page where I can trust you. I don't have to worry about where you are, no matter where you are in the world. The amount of headspace that I have gained back from this and not having to figure out how to be in a healthy relationship has been tremendous.
Yep.
And how many years did I waste in toxic relationships and trial and error figuring that out?
I'm sorry?
Not wasted.
You were in other...
If I would have.
Okay, all right.
That's why I didn't, because I didn't know how.
Oh, got it. Okay,
yes,
thanks.
Clarification.
Yep.
But I don't want them to have to figure out the things that I had to learn on my own as an adult later in life.
Yep. So, and I fully agree with you, honey. The amount of energy that spouses put into being a detective is just so counterproductive. It doesn't do anything for your life. If you can't inherently trust your spouse, then it's not.
Yeah.
And part of it's internal, right? Sometimes there are spouses who don't trust their spouse for no reason whatsoever. And again, wasted energy.
Right. But that could also be a trauma response.
Yeah.
I've told you this before. It is a new story to everyone that's listening, but one time Glenn was in the shower and his phone wasn't locked and it was sitting on the counter.
But you know my password.
Right. I do know your password, but I think it was the convenience of it still being lit up. And I saw it and I was like, and I went over there and I started going through your phone. And after a few boring little scrolls.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry?
It's a good thing that they were boring.
Or incredibly intellectual and interesting. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like, what am I doing? But that was a trauma response. Because I have had trust issues, because I have had daddy issues, all the things, whatever. And so I think that you do have to realize that in yourself, and you have to work through it on your own when you get in the right relationship.
Yeah. It's just a needless waste of energy.
Yes. So
there's so many other real things for people to worry about. But anyway.
Okay, a lot of people don't know this about you, but you were a single dad for how many years before we met?
At least 10.
Okay.
10? You think? It was 10?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anywhere 8 to 10 years,
yeah.
I think. And you've mentioned everyone, we became a close family really soon after meeting the kids. I think the kids were like, "Oh my God, why are you leaving?" after the first day that I left. And I was like, "Okay, I'll just come back." And then all of a sudden I was like, "Well, I'm going to have to move in if I'm going to be here every day because this doesn't make sense." But I think that you put a lot of trust in me as a parent.
Oh, yeah.
And you gave me pretty much free range to parent them. Was that just because I naturally was good at it, or what? Like, have you learned things from me as a parent? It's so interesting to imagine our dynamic of co-parenting when you had been a parent for so long before me.
Yeah, what I've learned, and actually the kids would thank you for this, is that I was a yeller, right? Because it's more. It's not like being an insulting yeller, you know what I mean? But yelling is still bad. But it was more like a barker, like a drill instructor, a military aspect. And and you actually see it in me. You know, I'll get mad, and then 2 minutes later, I'm not mad anymore. But, you know, the problem hasn't been solved, and you're still piling the trash can up 6 feet higher than it should be. So you've certainly brought that into our lives, that, you know, there's more of a calmness. There's here's the consequence, and if you don't follow through, then, you know, so that's really important. And you're pretty good at it, you know, even though you had never been a parent before. You know, you really bring a lot of, you know, process to the table, that's your superpower, frankly, process. Or organization, I guess you would say, right? So yeah, I think that you're really, really good at it, and it does come from an authentic place of love on your part. Right.
It's I don't know that I would have had the skill to calmly talk through and come up with the solutions and what is it, you know, in the way I do if I didn't become a stepmother first.
Yeah, I mean, when you say a stepmother, you became a parent for
right.
sure. But yeah, I know what you mean. I
think going into a house and step parenting is so different. It is also a very judgmental space, and you're so careful all the time. And so for me, I had to come in patient, and I had to, you know, come in, and I'm like, well, I don't feel comfortable yelling, so they need to understand why I'm upset, and then what they need to do to make it better. But quite frankly, it's made us both better parents, because now that's the whole strategy when we go into anything.
Right. So, and you know, I am sure that conflict happens in every parental couple, right? That there's a difference of opinion on how to handle things. Mine is more tough, right? And whereas yours, you know, you want to explain it through, and you know, one thing that I've learned is, you know, they're not soldiers, so they are children. So you do have to explain things to them and let them feel bought in, actually.
Yes. Well, and just teach them about consequence. And
I mean, for sure.
One thing about yours is you don't have accountability aligned with your.
Hey,
Yep. You will yell, and then, like you said, then it never happened, right? But to me, I'm like, well, that didn't solve the problem,
right?
And so
I know
that's kind of where, everyone's a little bit different, and it is like, I think something that people need to understand is that even in a really great, strong marriage, you're allowed to have disagreements or arguments on the style of how you're going to parent your children in each phase. These kids are changing every day, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And right now we are having to figure out how to parent young adults together, and also how to parent a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
And the things that we're having to do and the conversations that we're having to have with both of these categories are so opposite that it's hard to do it all.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's forever does not mean perfect all the time.
Right.
And a lot of people with social media being a thing, I do feel like a lot of people don't put in the extra fight for their relationships.
Oh, yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And social media has changed people's behaviors in so many different ways. It just changes the way you think, frankly. And you're right. You I wonder if our parents or grandparents would they say the same thing? People just aren't willing to fight for their relationship anymore. I think it's just more public right now. And I absolutely think that people do things in their virtual life or in their their social media life that they don't do in their real life.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. You act the same. You do. The energy that you bring, it's so funny to see, to see you on your, what do you call those things on TikTok? Is it a reel? Is it
You can just say on TikTok.
Okay. It's so funny because you are bringing your authentic self. You bring that energy and that liveliness. And it's funny when people approach me in public and I tell them that, because they all think it's staged. I mean, people, not all of them, but people certainly think it's staged or whatever. So
what's so funny is before we even blew up on TikTok.
Well, you blew up on TikTok.
Before we even blew up on TikTok.
I didn't. I'm not.
Glenn went and had a procedure done, and he told the doctor at the end.
Oh, yeah.
That, what did you say about me?
You're a real jokester.
I'm a real jokester. And I was like, what do you mean by that? And now seeing, like, now when you have TikTok and you could replay it and you're like strategically recording it, I'm like, I am a jokester. Have I always been this jokey?
Yeah.
Okay, so the one topic I do want to get out, and we're going to have to be kind of fast with it, but the other day I had posted a video, and it was in regards to our daughter getting a scholarship for her grades, and someone had commented they wish that wealthier people's children didn't get scholarships, right? And of course, I'm explaining the difference between a merit and a need-based scholarship, and that she had earned that and they had asked her to apply for it. Regardless, in the explanation, I did say, even if I was a billionaire, I would have push her to continue to go through the process of interviewing and getting this scholarship for various reasons. One of them being, to say that you had gotten the presidential scholarship for X amount is a great resume builder.
Yeah.
And another mom commented and she said, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I never would have thought of putting it on the resume. Like that's not where my mind goes. And so I'm really curious I'm excited for us to share some of the things that we do with our children because of the world that we live in that are beneficial for other moms to hear as they're parenting their kids, and maybe just not right. Like, I mean, I haven't been in corporate America for how long, and I was just telling you the other day, I need to touch people in corporate America or like the leaders over there to see how they're structuring companies and doing things as I build a company, because I'm just not there anymore, right? So if they haven't been working for so long, their mind isn't there anymore.
Right.
So what are some of the things that you think we teach our children every day that is going to benefit them when they get out in the real world, in their professional lives?
Well, you touched on a couple of things that I really want to respond to. First, this person who said that I don't think that kids who have the means should get merit scholarships, and I fully disagree with that, right? Because your success in life is based upon what you're willing to sacrifice. Mm-hmm. The level that you're willing to go to succeed, frankly. And kids that get these merit scholarships, they did sacrifice. They did study hard. Remember the whole wall of notes that Annie had?
Yeah, it's still up on the third floor.
I know. It's really cute. But, working really hard and not going to that party and not going to that dinner where everybody else was going, it is a sacrifice. It should be rewarded, for sure. Now, that said, financial need-based scholarships, of course they shouldn't go to kids who are well off. So that's one part of it. The other thing is that one thing that we're teaching the kids every day, and it's really, really hard, and parents, when every other kid has a Porsche, or every other kid has a Mercedes, or every other kid, right? And they don't even care about these cars. But even if you have the means to buy your kid a Porsche, why would you do that to a high school kid, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that is raising really great humans in this privileged life that we have worked so hard for because both of us came from nothing is truly a challenge.
Yeah.
The balance between teaching them to work for it and giving it to them because you want to give them everything we never had is a struggle.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It really is, especially when they don't always see it that way, but, you know, the kids, sometimes they're upset about it. It creeps in. But normally they see, when they see entitled kids doing other things, and they recognize it, and they're just like, wow, I thank God I'm not like that. So anyway, your direct question, the direct point that you were asking about is what are we teaching them that'll make them more successful in their professional life? First, sacrifice. That's one thing for sure. But then the other thing is that, you know, life is a game of inches. And if you work just an inch further than someone else, or just to, you know, even if you work 5 minutes harder than everybody else, that it pays dividends. And each one of them has had an experience where that happened, where they just tried something that made them uncomfortable, right? Or they just tried something
Or we
harder.
don't let them quit.
Yeah.
And then the outcome is great.
Yeah, and it doesn't always happen, right? But they've each had just a terrific outcome, a number of terrific outcomes from trying just a little bit harder.
I think some of the base level things that I do with the kids, I make them very early on in their high school career, they would have to send me calendar invitations.
I know.
I make them send me calendar invitations. One of my biggest pet peeves in some of their friends, right? Like in other children that are around us is when they can't order for themselves or interact with an adult at a restaurant or a store. And so I would tell our daughter, like, oh, you want to go and get our nails done? That's great. Call and make us an appointment.
Right.
You know, and forcing her to interact and schedule and be polite.
And then they've had to do it for their friends because their friends are too afraid to.
Yeah. I think that we're both, why we work really well is because we both are also workaholics.
I wouldn't say that. But
you don't think that we're workaholics?
You put all your effort into what you're doing at the moment. I mean, we play hard too. So.
Right. I think other people may call us workaholics.
That's fine. I mean, I'd say we're efficient. So. No. I mean, if
we are.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
To my point, they see both of us working very hard. And I do think, again, pulling back into how social media is affecting this next generation, I think that they think it all comes easy. A lot of people miss the stages of hustle.
Yeah.
Right? Where it's taken 10 to 20 years to get to this stage of success. And they all want the G-Wagon that I have outside. And I'm like, yeah, well, look, I just got it yesterday and I'm 34.
Right.
You know, you're not going to walk into any career at 18. And so I do think that showing our kids that hard work is still part of success is really important.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, do you want to rapid fire with me? Yes, you do.
Does it matter what I want?
Honey, this is our rapid fire round. So answer like a husband who wants to sleep inside tonight. What's one thing you've learned not to say to your wife?
Calm down. Following me in the bathroom? That's a good one. No, I mean, honey, unfettered joy. It is. You are.
I know sometimes you're annoyed when I follow you in there.
Oh, no. But I mean, your unfettered joy. You know, just you always try to be upbeat. You know, you always, sometimes that's annoying.
Really?
No.
Because you just want to be in a bad mood? Like you want to sit in it for a second?
No, honey.
I mean, if that's what you want to do, you can just tell me.
Okay.
We can get in our jammies and like eat candy on the couch. I can be less excited.
Okay.
Honey?
Inability to move on to the next question.
Who apologizes first? Be honest.
I do. You don't think? Yeah, I do.
Yes.
Yeah, you, yeah.
But it's because I'm extra long-winded and I need to get everything out of my body.
You're extra long-winded?
Even if he has already gotten the point.
I hadn't noticed.
and then you like to inappropriately apologize to try to end the conversation early. So that is
Wow. That's okay.
so you do always apologize first. What's something I do that makes you feel loved?
Follow me in the bathroom. No, seriously. You know, you always want to be together, and that's, you know, it does make me feel loved, frankly. Mm-hmm. And by the way, if you're mad about something, it's so evident, right?
Yes.
Because then you're not following me, and there's an absence to it that, you know, that hurts. So,
honey, what's interesting about you answering that is what makes you feel loved, and what's also annoying is, you know, we say this saying to each other, and it's not about our actual friends, but we're so busy and out in the public all the time, and people just start complaining about their significant others. I mean, you've just met them, right? And I've had like a work dinner, and I'm like, oh my God, she hates her husband so much, and like that's not who we are. We don't ever, we're never out publicly complaining about each other, and
not even once.
Yes, and so
I could say that, and any of my friends who have listened to this, they'll go, yeah,
right,
not even once,
right. But to my point about the bathroom thing, and what we usually say is, when I would follow you to the bathroom and you're clearly annoyed with me, we say to each other for a quick like gut check, okay, well, ask your friends, right? And it's like, do your friends get followed to the bathroom because their wives still love them so much that they want to be with them constantly?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just obsessed with you,
honey.
Okay, what's the weirdest thing you've Googled as a dad?
I don't know. I don't think anything I Google is weird. I'm always curious about anything.
You are very curious.
I really don't. I'm sorry. I'm sure I'll think of something.
Fine. If our kids described us in 3 words, what do you hope they say?
Together or individually?
Babe, don't overanalyze it. Just come on, 3 words.
All right. Happy, loyal to each other, which is more than 3 words. But happy, loyal, loving.
That's nice. When do you think is the...
wow. Isn't it funny that I didn't think of, and it just hit me, I didn't think of, provider or something like that, or giver, gift giver. You know, that's really, anyway, sorry. I just think that's very interesting. So,
what do you think is the appropriate age for men to stop having children?
55. What did you say about me? That's the weirdest thing I've ever Googled. What is dad coding?
Oh, because I've said to him sometimes some of the things that he says are dad coded.
Yeah, what does that
Honey,
mean?
Google it.
Yeah.
Finish the sentence. Marriage is basically blank.
I mean, joyful for sure. It's the toughest job you'll ever love.
Rate yourself as a husband from 1 to Beyonce.
And Beyonce's good?
Oh my God, babe, you're about to be canceled.
No. I meant it goes.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes, Beyonce is good. That shouldn't be a question.
Okay. But what does that go up to? Is that like 99 then Beyonce?
Honey,
or is that 9 then Beyonce?
Okay, just make Beyonce a freaking 10. 1 to 10.
7.
7?
Hmm?
Oh my gosh. I want to know where you think you have areas of improvement.
Honey, I could always do better.
One piece of advice you'd give to a new dad or a husband married to a woman chasing big dreams.
One piece of advice?
Yeah, babe, 1.
I mean, I can't say everything.
Babe,
Everything
come
I
on.
tell.
We're out of time.
Let her be as crazy as she wants to be.
Okay.
Yeah. And always support her in public,
I
even
think-
when she's wrong.
Oh yeah, publicly, even if she's wrong. I do think that that's great advice for a new dad as well. Let
Yeah.
her be as crazy as she wants to be, because postpartum is a different beast and it's hard. Anyways. Okay, babe. Cheers.
Cheers, honey.